Let's freaking go. We are breaking down Texas A&M versus Arkansas today, and I feel Sam Pittman just caught an abso-freaking-lutely lucky break when he really needed it. Obviously, with the last couple of weeks losing close games to both BYU and LSU, well, he needed something to go his way. And I think Connor Wigman getting hurt helps Texas A&M lose this game versus Arkansas. I think the Razorbacks have a better shot now of beating Texas A&M because, well, Arkansas is familiar with Max Johnson. He is. They have gone up against Max Johnson quite a bit at Arkansas. Of course, dating back to 2021 when Max Johnson did not play well versus Arkansas, and LSU elected to go to Garrett Nussmeier. And then, of course, last year, Max Johnson did lead Texas A&M to a comeback victory, but this was a game in which everything changed when KJ Jefferson decided to go full Superman, and it was a fumble return for a touchdown going the other way. The biggest momentum shift you could possibly have is a 99-yard fumble recovery on a quarterback sneak. So, obviously, if you are Arkansas, I feel like you should feel like you're in a better spot going into this game versus Texas A&M. Now, something else that I would mention here is if Connor Wigman was playing, I would feel pretty good about Texas A&M going into this spot. But I don't think Max Johnson playing from the Texas A&M perspective would put them in a spot where this season is just over for Texas A&M. So I think for me, I think Texas A&M should feel confident with Max Johnson. He played really well when he came in last week versus Auburn. But I do think Connor Wigman, of course, gives them an abso-freaking-lutely higher ceiling. We say hi to Razorback Rick in Australia. Good to see CB as well. Woo Pig Suey. As always, if you guys have any questions, feel free to fire them in. We do have a guest. Our friend Oliver will be joining us in the near future in the next 10 minutes. So what I want to do is show you just a quick little statistical breakdown between both of these teams, okay? And the first thing that really stands out to me is, well, Arkansas, I feel, has played about at the level you expected them to versus LSU. I thought that game was going to be close. I thought that game was going to be one where Arkansas would be very competitive. That was a game where I went, honestly, pretty freaking heavy on Texas A&M cover. I say Texas A&M, Arkansas covering that number. But for me, I feel as if in this game, Arkansas will be competitive, but I could see Texas A&M winning this by 10 or so when the rubber meets the road at the end of this game. So the truth is, CB says Hogs by 10. Arkansas always finds a way to lose this game. Absolutely. There has been just an absolutely chaotic history between these two teams in this game. Okay, starting off, of course, with Texas A&M having won so many of these games that they probably should have lost, right? You look at Texas A&M last year, that was a game that Arkansas should have won. You go all the way back to when Arkansas lost, it was at Alex Collins and there was a long touchdown run by the other running back. What was his name? Jonathan. Either way, number 32 had a long run, and it was called back for a leg whip by Dan Skipper 10 yards behind the play. There's just been so much bad luck in this game. Obviously, last year with Cam Little, you had the chance for the field goal to kick it through the uprights and win that one. This has just been a calamity of just horrible luck, multiple overtime losses. And obviously, if you're Arkansas, you're downtrodden, right? You had a lot of hype going into the season. You already had 2 losses. Your over/under win total was set at 6.5, and you've lost 2 games that you probably felt you should have won. And the thing that's very interesting from an Arkansas perspective is you did have a better success rate than BYU. You did have a better success rate versus LSU. It's not as if you're just playing awful or you're just getting blown out. It's just you're not able to finish, and the weak spots of this team rear its ugly head when you really need it, right? Obviously, the offensive tackle play for Arkansas has been abysmal. Your offensive tackles keep getting blown back into KJ Jefferson. You don't have the weapons to the outside, the same that Texas A&M has. They obviously have very good weapons on the outside. And on top of it, your defense, which started the season off with 3, I feel, respectable efforts, they got absolutely torched last week, granted, against the SEC's best offense in LSU. So I think if you're Arkansas, you're not playing horrible football, but at the same time, you aren't necessarily playing good. Okay. Let's go to Razorback Rick. Arkansas must play clean and get points some kind every time they are in the red zone. Yeah, you would like to see Arkansas be more efficient there. Obviously, last week, you get the huge play to the 1-inch line, and you commit that false start penalty when you're going for it on 4th down, and you have to settle for a field goal. Last year, obviously, the biggest mistake and the biggest momentum shift you'll ever see was the red zone fumble by KJ Jefferson. You do have to be better in the red zone. You do have to find a way to finish drives. You just do. You just do. Let's go to Bradley. He says, play the money line. Hogs out right. Very interesting. I don't know if I could go hogs out right. I could get Arkansas covering. But I guess if the line is at 6, you might as well just take them outright. Huh? 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 If it was at 7.5, I'd be more willing, obviously, to take Arkansas in that hook. But of course, Arkansas has been addicted to losing by 3 points, and 3 points exactly. Now, before we get to our guest here, we're going to go through some of these other SEC games. Starting off here with Kentucky and Florida. Kentucky has now shifted to a 1-point favorite. This line actually earlier this week was Florida by 2.5, and it has shifted all the way to Kentucky by 1. Okay. What do they know that we don't? And by they, I mean the sharp bettors. Why has this line moved so unbelievably much? You tell me who you like in this matchup. Auburn versus Georgia. You were getting a hook with 14.5, and now Auburn seems like a team that could keep it competitive versus Georgia, except the fact that Auburn has thrown for less than 100 yards in 5 consecutive games. That is an absolutely insane statistic. That is an absolutely insane stat. Now, before we get to our guests, I'll give you my final plays here. Missouri and Vanderbilt. Missouri a 13.5-point favorite. Give me Vanderbilt covering that spread in a look-ahead spot. LSU versus Ole Miss. I think LSU does win. I do think the Sharps are in on Ole Miss, though. South Carolina, Tennessee. I love South Carolina to cover in this spot. I do. I think South Carolina's, Tennessee's talent is better. Tennessee's coaching is really good. I just get a quarterback advantage with Spencer Rattler. And then, of course, Alabama 14 and a hook over Mississippi State. I love Alabama in this spot. I think they're going to win that game something like 31-10, as they always do. Now, I'm going to need some clap emojis in the chat. I'm going to need you to show some energy to one of my favorite Arkansas YouTube channels. A man of many talent. His setup is so golden. He glows. It's my friend and yours, Oliver from the Woo Pig Podcast, baby.
Hey, what's up, baby? How's it going, Carter?
Man, I can only breathe the best air I can breathe, man. I'm feeling good. Life is great. We got a full slate of SEC games, and I had some of the most fun I've ever had on any show. Being on your show last week, I appreciate that.
Hey, man, appreciate you for coming.
Yeah, so Woo Pick Podcast, make sure you check them out. For me, what has been the biggest storyline for you for Arkansas Texas A&M?
The biggest storyline for me is that they beat us 10 out of 11 times in the last 11 games. That's the biggest thing for me right now. And we got to get a win. That's the biggest storyline for me. Nothing else matters but a W.
I will say Pittman is the one responsible for that one victory just a few years ago. And you had the big AJ Green play in that game. So maybe you get another one this week. So are there any matchups for you that are really sticking out?
Well, I think our defensive line can dominate, and they got to win because we got to just rush 4 guys. We can't bring the kitchen sink because our secondary is not really holding up like I feel like they should. And I think that's one of the weakest areas on the defense is the secondary, except for McLaughlin. McLaughlin holds his own. Yeah. But the secondary, they got to do their thing, but it starts with the front 4. We have the best sack rate in the nation right now at 14%. We get to the quarterback at least 14% of the time. And I think if those guys up front can do their job, it can help those guys out on the back end. Also, the penalties against your LSU Tigers really hurt us, as well as in the BYU game. I think 9 of our 7 penalties came in the second half, 4 delay of game calls, 1 holding. So the offensive line didn't do a bad job in this last game, but the penalties overall hurt us. And Pittman himself said, we played hard, we just didn't play smart.
A few more for you. I know you took some time out of your work break to hang out with us, and that shows you how freaking much the Woo Pig Podcast cares about these hogs.
So Woo Pig Suey, baby.
I wanted to bring up something that really shocked me. I thought the Arkansas secondary was going to struggle versus these skill position players of LSU because LSU skill guys are really good. Make a case Texas A&M skill guys might not be as good, but they are still very, very, very good. I was shocked at the tackling in the secondary, and I was also a little shocked at how bad Singletary got beat. My goodness gracious, Oliver. They chalk outlined him out there, and he couldn't guard a soul. So are you worried about this group going up against yet another set of skill guys?
Absolutely. I mean, looking at the tape of A&M, and they got some fabulous receivers.
Yeah.
And our DBs, they got to step up. They got to show up and show out. And I think one thing that may hurt them is that they're missing their quarterback for the rest of the year. And I think that may give us a slight edge if the guys slow processing, if our guys on the D-line can get to the quarterback. I think we got a chance. One other thing that I didn't really want to bring up, they got the mad scientist Bobby Petrino, my favorite coach of all time in Arkansas Razorback history.
Oh,
I know he's gonna put his quarterback in a position to win. But hopefully T. Will and the defensive staff got some tricks up their sleeve.
Yeah, that also what concerns me as well is like, Bobby wants this game more than anything else, especially considering how close he was last year with Missouri State, as crazy as that sounds. So, yeah, you said it's your favorite. Bobby is your favorite.
Man. When Bobby Petrino went through his little situation, man, you wouldn't believe how many people got together and basically had pep rallies to keep Bobby Petrino in the building. They didn't care about his situation. They wanted Bobby Petrino. The Hog faithful wanted to win, and we felt like Bobby Petrino gave us the best chance to win. I mean, if you look at the previous coaches, Houston Nutt did a pretty decent job. The offensive never really got going under Houston Nutt. He's a great motivator, not necessarily great teacher of offenses. Our offense was, three clouds in some dust. So I love Bobby Petrino. He came in, he said, we're going to run when we need to run, and we're going to throw when we need to throw, and he did it. And I love that about Bobby Petrino. And he will always have a spot in the Woo Pig podcast heart as being my favorite coach of all time.
I love it. So a piece of you will be on the other sideline. And that does concern me. It really does, because I think overall, Max Johnson is a quarterback that you guys have faced multiple times, right? You faced him briefly in 2021, and then last year he played in this game. Now, from your vantage point, obviously me being there and me just being a huge fan of his, KJ is one of my favorite players ever in college football. I just love him. Great performance from him last week. How do you feel he matches up against another Texas A&M defense that has a lot of talent?
I think KJ's going to do his thing. That's the one piece of the Arkansas Razorback team that I don't worry about. KJ takes care of the ball. He's healthy. He's not taking hits. People giving him a lot of flack because he's not running over people. But that's what got him in trouble last year. He missed some games because he wanted to run over those guys. He wanted to show that, hey, I'm big, I'm bad. But hey, man, we need you on the field. So I like the fact that he's running out of bounds. He's taking care of himself. I have no thoughts about KJ messing up or not doing his job. He's a professional. He takes care of the ball. He doesn't throw a lot of picks. There's some things that people can say about his accuracy on short balls, but overall, I don't have any qualms with KJ. I think he can get the job done.
Sam Pittman, your thoughts on how he's coached up to this point, and your thoughts here going up against Jimbo.
Man, Pittman, he resurrected us from the depths of hell, man. We were terrible before Pittman got there. And a lot of people forget that. He came in and resurrected us from being just terrible under the previous regime. He came in, he only won 3 games that first year, but that second year, man, he came in and did his thing. He won 9 games. So I think the Hog fans give him a lot of leeway just for that alone. And we want to see him be successful. It just hadn't calculated into wins the level of that we want to see, because we want to see Bobby Petrino 10, 11 wins. We don't want to see 7 wins, 8 wins, 9 wins, 6 wins just to get into the Liberty Bowl. We don't want to see that. And so we appreciate what he's done, but we want him to give us more. And with the media hyping the Hogs up the way that we did, I'll just say we are right at this point very disappointed in what we see so far.
And what's disappointed you the most?
The losses, the way we're losing, and what's disappointing me the most is the offensive line, because he has been touted as the offensive line guru, but we have one of the worst offensive lines that I can even remember. And that's the part that gets me, is how can you be a great offensive line coach, but your team has a horrible offensive line? So that's been my big deal right there with Sam Pittman this year alone.
7 wins. You think it's you do you believe, or?
I picked the Hogs to win seven games this year. I looked at the schedule and I'm a realist. I said we were going to win 7 games, and I still think we can win 7 games. Especially if we can we need this win. more than any win on the schedule, because if we lose this game against A&M, I feel like it's going to get out of control with the Hogs. The fan base probably will turn. The guys that's out there making the tackles, making the catches, probably will feel some type of way and start to give up just a little bit. And I think it can get out of control if we don't get this win. We have to get this win. I think this is the most important win of the season, the most important game of the season.
Yeah, I agree. Normally, I'm not that kind of guy. Normally, I'm like, okay, well, they like Sam. They're going to go out there and play hard. But the issue is if you lose this game, I totally agree with you that you could lose some people because it's 2 more road games right after this. So you lost again, get on a plane back to Fayetteville, then you're on another plane going back to Oxford, and then the team just has their mindset, okay, we're just going back on a plane, get our ass whipped again or lose again. It
Right.
happens. It it,
Right.
it can happen. So yeah, I mean, and then Alabama, all these guys. I think if you win this game, I think you'll have a pretty locked in team for both Ole Miss and Alabama. So I'm with you on that, and I'm interested if the chat agrees with that. Type Y for yes, type N for no. Do you feel this is the most important game on the schedule? And I know what some of you are going to say. Well, yes, because it's the next one. But no, we're talking about big picture. I'm in agreement. I really am. So I'm going to go yes. Let me ask you this: the Jerry World game. Are you excited that all of this could potentially be over?
Yeah, I actually want it to be over because it's not a home game for us. I mean, it's in Texas. Let me turn this off. My bad. It's definitely in Texas. So I'm actually wanting it to be over because, like I said, man, it's an away game for us. So we don't actually get to get A&M in Arkansas. So
Right.
I want it to be over. I'll be happy when it's over. I'm looking forward to when it's over.
I think the biggest BS was the 2020 game being played in Aggie Land. And I understand, like we can get into like a debate. Well, it should go back to Dallas after that. No, the more rational thing would have been is make them have to go to Fayetteville at least 1 year.
Exactly.
So I mean, Arkansas always gets screwed with these kinds of things. I mean, they just do. I'm an LSU fan. I'm telling you that. It's just it's always been this way.
Yeah. Yeah.
Last one. I know you got to get back to work. Don't forget Woo Pig Podcast. You guys go live after games, correct?
We do. We go to live after games on Saturday, live streams on Monday and Thursday, 8:30, 9 o'clock. We usually go live between those times.
Good. I'll pop back in at some point. You know what's interesting? I look at this. Let me ask you just straight up: is Arkansas winning on Saturday?
Yes. The Hogs, they will win Saturday.
Look at you. Look at this.
Yeah, we winning.
You're one of the more rational fans in the media space, Oliver. That's why I wanted to have you on. So you truly do believe it in your heart's desire.
Yeah, I do. I think the players, the coaches, everybody understands that this is the game that we have to win and we cannot lose this game. I think they're gonna come to play. And I'm sure a lot of those guys know of Bobby Petrino and knows how much he probably wants to beat the Hogs, especially with, talent like he has at A&M. I think they're going to show up. And if they play as good as they played against LSU, it's a win. It's a win. LSU is going to be the most talented team that we faced this year, and we held our own. And if they can do that against A&M, it's a win.
Do you Rocket's back?
Yes, we need Rocket. We need
The
Rocket.
Rock. The Rock is back, baby. and he's
Yeah.
cooking. Let's go, Rocket. I'm pulling for you guys. I really am. Part of it is I have the over on your win total, but I also have the over on Texas A&M's win total this year. So I kind of need both of them to win. But no, from an LSU perspective, and I have a bunch of LSU people that tune into this. You want Arkansas to win because you already have the tiebreaker over Arkansas. So you want the Hogs to get the job freaking done.
Yes.
So once again, it is the Woo Pig podcast. Check it out. Obviously, I do Arkansas coverage on here, but I go on all the other teams. If you want, just Razorbacks. That's what they do all the time. Woo Pig podcast. They have a wonderful cast of characters that go on that channel. Did I get everything? Oh, is
That's
that
it.
right?
You can find us at the Woo Pig Podcast everywhere. Twitter, Facebook, Twitch, wherever you at, that's where we at.
All right, bud. We'll talk soon.
Hey, thanks a lot. Have a great one.
All right, check them out. Woo Pig Podcast. I'll take a few more here, and then once again, I'll give you all my picks. Do you think from a recruiting standpoint, the Jerry World Games help you in the northern part of Texas? I think it can. You can make a case that, Arkansas goes into Texas every year and says, look, we don't have a whole lot of guys in Arkansas, and a lot of our team is made of Texas. Every single season, you are guaranteed to play a game in Jerry's World. I think that is a pretty good recruiting pitch, especially considering Arkansas is not the most fertile state in the world. And, of course, Jerry Jones, of course, is one of your biggest donors. But to the contrary of that, Kevin, and Kevin's one of my LSU guys, it's also a game that Texas A&M gets to play in that building every year. So, but yes, I do think it's a major recruiting selling point. And for those that aren't too familiar with Arkansas football, and it's something I think the media struggles to reconcile. One of the most cruel things about Arkansas's lack of success in football is Arkansas has a stranglehold on its state, unlike any other school, right? There's no other professional teams in Arkansas. You have a bunch of D2, D3 kind of schools in Arkansas, but no D1 Power 5 schools. And, Arkansas State's had some success, but it's not quite the same as Arkansas, right? And you should have a stranglehold on all the football recruits in the state of Arkansas, which you do. But the issue is those recruits aren't really that good. There's not many Division I, SEC Power 5 players in the state of Arkansas, the same as it is in a state like LSU, Texas, and all of that. And a lot of you know that. So if you're Arkansas, most of your team is Texas. It just is. Most of your team is Texas. Some of it's Louisiana. Some of it's Mississippi. Some of it is Oklahoma, obviously with Lucas. There's a wide litany of players that have to come in and play for Arkansas. It's not like LSU, where LSU has Power 5 guys that they can't even offer every year that turn out to be really good in the NFL. Dontavian Wicks is one of those guys. So it's crazy, absolutely crazy how much more talent there is in Louisiana than there is in Arkansas, how much more talent there is in Texas than there is in Arkansas. So when you play this game every year, it does make it an interesting pitch to the recruits in Texas and just the recruits in general. A lot of the kids that you are recruiting for Texas and Oklahoma, those guys are Cowboys fans. So there you go. Now, once again, let's go through these picks. I do like, if I were to bet Arkansas here, I would just take the money line. One side of this I do like is the over. Rocket Sanders is back. Arkansas is going to have a jolt of confidence with, their best skill guy, not named KJ, back. And I think the Texas A&M defense is still very troubling if you look at Texas A&M with DJ Durkin. The last time they played away from Aggie Lane was against Miami, and Miami has a really good quarterback as well, and they cleared that over. I really do like the over in this game here. Kentucky and Florida, there's a piece of me that kind of wants to take Florida here when they were favored by 2.5, and now it's all the way to Kentucky being favored by 1. Georgia, Auburn, I'm staying away from that one. I think that's like a 27-10 kind of game. Vanderbilt, Missouri, obviously, I love Vanderbilt here to cover and a look-ahead spot for Missouri. LSU, Ole Miss, weird kickoff time at 5. I do like LSU. The sharp money is coming in on Ole Miss. Tennessee, South Carolina, 12.5. I do love South Carolina to cover here, and I love Alabama to cover versus Mississippi State. Okay, now we go through the top 25 matchups as we do each and every week. Okay, it's a good point, Lawson. Winning that game does worlds of help for your recruiting in the state of Texas. Oregon State versus Utah. There's a piece of me that kind of likes the under here. Utah does not have their quarterback back just yet, but 44.5 is just low. Penn State, 27-point favorites going up against Northwestern. Penn State, of course, covering last week versus Iowa. One of my favorite plays of the week is Colorado covering 21.5 versus USC. One of my favorite plays of the freaking week. A 74.5 is a total. That's a really high total. But there's a piece of me that thinks this game is going to be like 52-48 or something like that. Like some epic game. So, yeah, 42-35, something like that. But I do like Colorado covering. I think their offense is going to move the football just fine. Just Colorado's defense is dookie water. Michigan at Nebraska. That total at 39.5 at a 17.5 point spread. Absolutely crazy. We move along here. Oregon versus Stanford. Obviously, not as many ranked, juicy matchups. We do get Notre Dame and Duke. Late night primetime game. Herbie on the call. I'm loving Duke in the spot at 5.5. We'll see. Duke's a team that I desperately want to see win this game. I'm a big Riley Leonard fan, but I'm kind of staying away from it. I'll tell you this. I've done really well picking games this year. I am staying away from this week's slate. I'm staying away. Give me your best play. What's up, Brandon? Welcome to the channel. Subscribe, ring the bell. Once again, we are live Tuesdays and Thursdays on Power Hour SEC at 6 p.m. Central. The Thursday is definitely Arkansas Razorback focus. Let's go to Nima. Hold me and tell me my Hogs will finally beat Jimbo. So, Nima, everybody, I don't care if you're watching this on your phone or if you're watching this on your iPad or on a laptop, everyone do like this. Let Nima feel that the Razorbacks are going to get this done. And Arkansas has already beaten Jimbo, of course, a few years ago. AJ Green had that big touchdown. But yeah. I don't know. I don't think I've ever done a group hug on YouTube. Appreciate it, Nima. All I ask in response is a subscription, and like this video. And by the way, if you ever want to reach out to me, at Carter the Power is my Twitter handle. Give me a follow. At Carter the Power. That's me on Instagram as well. All right, we'll take a few more here. Yeah, Lawson. I'll say this, though. You've lost a lot of just really, really, really close games. You have. Philly Moo, what it do? Let's go to Kevin. Arkansas is going to win by 10 plus. Now, don't forget, if you want to support what we're doing here on Power Hour SEC, one thing you can do, sign up for our friends at Underdog Fantasy. UnderdogFantasy.com, promo code Carter. They have best ball fantasy football drafts, and you can do higher lowers, over unders. They got all kinds of fun little pick 'em games. Underdog Fantasy, promo code Carter, deposit match bonus all the way up to $100. That means you deposit $100, they give you $100. UnderdogFantasy.com. Please go sign up, promo code Carter. Now, I'll tell you this. Hudson Clark had a bad game last week. He had a rough game. Okay. I'll also say this. If I were to say something to the Arkansas Razorback team, you have got to never let a defensive back wear number 15. Okay, last year, DB number 15, no need to say his name. He had a great story. He's turned out to be an actually pretty solid player for Memphis. Don't wear number 15. And then Singletary. I'll tell you this. There are not many defensive backs I have seen in the course of a game versus LSU that got burned more than Singletary did in that game versus LSU, to the point where he has absolutely no confidence and he should have been benched. He should have been benched. If you're getting burned that badly, you've got to bench him. You've got to do something else, because what they will do, especially LSU, whose two best receivers can play any of the positions, they'll matchup punch you, right? And that's all they did. They're like, okay, find where Singletary is, match Malik Neighbors and BTJ up against him, and let them cook. So, yeah, I mean, I was kind of shocked by that. I was like, man, he is getting torched out there, and it should have been worse. They missed him. They missed some guys torching him. So you've got to be careful. Okay. And it wasn't, and you're right. Malik Neighbors did get him, but it was honestly Brian Thomas Jr. Who tore him up, the number 2 guy. And I'll tell you this: Texas A&M, they don't have a receiver as good as Malik Neighbors, but they have a lot of good ones. They probably have the deepest wide receiver room in the SEC. Like, their top 2 is not better than LSU's top 2, but their top 4 is probably better than LSU's top 4, if that makes sense. So, yeah, you catch a break here. Connor Wigman's not playing, but you also get in a spot here where, man, things could get brutal. It absolutely can get brutal. Now, don't forget, set a reminder on your phone that every Thursday we'll be live at 6 p.m. breaking down your Arkansas Razorbacks. Okay? So we will see you soon. We will do a film study of some sort after the Arkansas Texas A&M game. And let me know, would you guys I do have the potential to do this, and I'm going to try it out. Would you guys like me to go live after the Texas A&M Arkansas game? I could do it. We'll see how it goes. So yeah, I'm gonna try and do that. Go live right after Texas A&M and Arkansas. So there you go. We'll talk to you soon. It is Power Hour SEC. Bam! And tonight we are doing some fried fish. Let's go. Or should I go get some Slims?